Some really interesting comments to Alabama radio, Birmingham radio over the week, where Kirby Smart talked about Kelee Ringo. He said he got a little heavy in that first game against Alabama. He'll be the first to tell you. We called him in and said corners are not supposed to weigh 220 pounds. He's done a great job to play in the playoffs at 210 or 212 pounds. That's more where we want him, and he played at a higher level at those weights. Do you have this moment if he is if he's at 220? I mean, I may probably still possible, probable. I mean, I don't know that I've lost a little weight, right? I mean, yeah, not that y'all can tell or notice. Y'all are just judging everything else out there. Make sure you pick up Dog Destruction. Links down below. That's the best way to support us. I mean, look, Keely Ringo, there's not the guy's not like right there. He does in no way look heavy. But when you're talking about, you know, a sport where every little thing matters, um, yeah, 5% or so um, change. 5% is the wrong word. I can't do math very quickly there. It would be about 2%, somewhere in that ballpark. But even 2%, something like that, that would be a pretty substantial change in the way that you feel when you're playing sports. So, what was Keeley's Christmas time like? You play Alabama in the SEC championship game, and then at some stage you're going home, right? I mean, you're no matter what. After this is just me. Now, I don't think it's just me, but I'll say it. I'll take the blame. After the SEC championship, you are basically in Christmas mode. All right, there are parties. If you have kids, which some guys on the team do have kids, it becomes about the kids. It becomes about um, you know, you got to close up finals and stuff like that. But it becomes a very festive time of the year, and it's easy to eat a lot, right? Well, Georgia just come off an extremely embarrassing loss, and they had to right the ship quick. But for a guy like Keeley, who was playing at what Kirby says is 220 pounds, um, to cut, let's just say he did play at 210. To cut that 10 pounds is, not insignificant. That's almost 5%. It's 4.5% of his body mass, and did so apparently in about 4 weeks. Now, when you're a high level athlete, yeah, you can cut weight. I mean, I remember wrestlers at Tucker would lose weight, no problem. But this is a corner. He doesn't have a ton of weight to lose. And the way that he's playing, to me, it just shows the commitment that he had. And he was one of several guys at Georgia that that Kirby actually opened up about this for the first time. It is curious how more open he is with people who don't actually cover the team than he is with the team beat media. But that's okay, whatever. It's his prerogative. And we're also 6 months away, or what was, well, 5 months from the time at which they played for the national championship. But um, this was a driven team, and they were not where they needed to be headed into that Alabama game. Now, were they um, were they thinking they could just roll the ball out there and win? We talk about this. This is written about in DAWGSTRUCTION. That is that is one of the key that is one of the things we talk about in the book, was that Georgia gets up and thinks, oh, we got this. And I'll tell you, man, on the field Georgia gets up 10-0. I think they had the ball. I can't recall, but either they got 10-0 but there was a moment later in that first quarter where it really felt like Georgia's going to grind Alabama out. Alabama's in real trouble here. And then they hit the one ball and just exploded for a quarter, probably about a 10-minute period of time. And then the rest of the game, yeah, Alabama was the better team, but it wasn't like it was in the second quarter. How did everything get from that moment to where confetti is falling on the dogs? And you've got Kirby, celebrating with a trophy, and really, what he must be thinking right there. How did we get to that point in 12 in a 6 week period? Well, one thing is that one game is not at all like the other. I mean, in fact, Alabama played much better in the first quarter in Indianapolis than they ever thought about playing in Atlanta in the first quarter. I mean, they were not playing well in the first quarter in Atlanta, and then they exploded. They never exploded in um, in Indianapolis. And people say, well, it's because their guys got hurt. Okay, yeah, maybe. Maybe you should get more guys, right? I mean, JT Daniels got hurt. Stetson Bennett stepped right in. So I do think that the lesson, if you want to call it that, from Kirby and them is that they 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 couldn't have been super happy with with the performance. And then what was that next day like, right? I mean, what was the next day like for Georgia and all of those players who could not have been more humbled by the beating that Alabama put on them. I mean, that was a decisive win, right? I mean, that was a that was Georgia won the national championship 38-18. Alabama beat them 41-24. Now, those numbers are not so far from one another. I mean, 33-18 is a 15-point win. 41 to 24 is a 17-point win if my math is right. So that's not. I mean, there's a two points difference, right? It's not a huge difference, but something happened this day when we were in Atlanta, where Georgia either didn't take Bama as seriously as they could have or should have, uh, or Alabama just exploded. Georgia wasn't quite ready, or they needed that jolt. But they really destroyed Michigan in a way that Alabama sort of systematically took Cincinnati apart. Georgia destroyed Michigan. And was it because of, guys like Kelee making the sacrifice during the holidays? Was it just a really bad game? You needed to flush it? Were there adjustments made by the coaching staff? Or was it any number of little things that the team and the program did, individual players did, that got them to live up to the potential that they had the entire time? What would have happened if Georgia had beaten Alabama in Atlanta? I mean, I'm assuming Alabama would not have gone to the playoff because at that stage, you're talking about them following up an Auburn escape. I mean, they probably should have lost that game. You're talking about them escaping Auburn and then losing to Georgia, having 3 losses. They wouldn't have been in the playoff. I don't know who would have gone. I guess Notre Dame, who would have stood no chance against Georgia. Um, we would have just seen, but um, Oklahoma State kind of goofed it up. I don't know, but Kelee and them made the adjustments. Again, he got a little heavy in that first game against Alabama. He'll tell you it was the first one of the. He'll tell you first off, he was one of the first guys we called in and said corners are not supposed to be 220 pounds. Uh, he's done a great job to play at the playoffs at 210 or 212. So the adjustments were made, and the championship was won.